My ex is hoovering me again. How do I resist? My heart and head are fighting at the moment. So a big part of resisting is understanding the story that you actually believe. Typically what's happening is the story that you actually believe is telling you to be able to stay, is telling you this has to happen. My ex is now with my best friend. Ugh, totally get that. Totally get that. Unfortunately, a lot of times narcissists will go after people or will go after some of your closest people. Sometimes that's the easiest ones because they already have like a relationship. I didn't know there was such a thing as a self-aware narcissist. So I'm skeptical just coming out of a 30-year abusive relationship. No, absolutely. You'd be surprised. There's more narcissists out there that are actually self-aware. The difference is there's a lot of narcissists that are self-aware. They just don't care. There's a lot of self-aware narcissists that don't really care how they treat you, how they're interacting with you, anything like that. So as a result, it's like, hey, I'm a narcissist. Okay, whatever. And a lot of times narcissists will continue to just do what they want to do because there's not actually that change piece. That's what happened. I like scrolled up on Instagram and then it stopped showing me the comments. Okay. Are my siblings narcissistic as well? No, because I don't have any siblings. So nope. He hoovered me 6 days after leaving again, saying, how are you and the kids doing? Should I accept? No, not at all. So a narcissist is going to hoover you typically for control. Like they want to be able to control you. Okay. If they are in prison for domestic violence, is he being nice to get revenge or does he feel bad? Typically with a narcissist, it's more like just being nice, just to either get revenge, to be able to get out, to be able to like make themselves look better. But it's not typically like a magical change. You don't normally see that with narcissists. Okay. Should I accept another hoover after I didn't reply to the first hoover? The answer is no. So like if the person has been toxic and they've shown that they've been toxic over a period of time, don't let toxicity back into your life because you have that choice that you can make to not be with that toxic person. Okay. Don't accept that hoover. That hoover is meant to suck you back in to a toxic relationship. Okay. I was wondering what helps when it comes to feel like you did something wrong and question almost everything you did, especially after a narcissistic relationship. So a lot of times people after a narcissistic relationship feel like they have no confidence to be able to do things. They have no confidence to be able to move forward. They have no confidence in how they work through problems and going even to the grocery store or like different things like that. There's a lot of times that it becomes really, really hard to be able to process some of those like basic things per se. And when that happens, you have to start developing a habit and you have to start building up your momentum in small little things. Now, it could be as simple as like making the bed or, taking out the trash or like making breakfast for yourself. Like it could be something super, super simple. But when you start building this repetition, you start realizing, wait a second, I can do this. The other aspect is like the stories that are actually being told like in your head that you're telling yourself from the toxicity that the other person told you, hey, you're not good enough. Like, hey, this isn't like how you should be or whatever it might be. Okay. All right. Let's see. My ex is treating her daughter the same way he was treating me. What can I do? He is a narcissist. So a couple things, like one, you want to try to go no contact as soon as possible. You want to try to separate yourself from the toxicity, the toxic person. You want to be able, if you're in a co-parenting situation, because that doesn't really exist with a narcissist. If you're in a parallel parenting situation with a narcissist, then you're going to want to use the BIF method. You're going to want to try to make sure that you're there emotionally for your daughter and you're not engaging with him and letting him make you react. Because that's the biggest thing, is like trying to make you react. He'll try to do a lot of different things like that. Okay. Missing you live. I broke no contact. November, carried until Christmas Eve. I since got no contact. He's now threatening to take me for custody again. Yeah. Well, a lot of times they will do that. And so like with that, like stick your ground. Like with your boundaries, you need to hold fast to your boundaries. Otherwise they'll never respect you at all. Okay. You can't reason with a narcissist. Anything you say, it's just ammo, run, don't look back. Yeah, absolutely. Narcissist stopped wearing his ring, said marriage was a mistake. A lot of times they'll do that. Okay. What happens when they can't find new supply and can't get the old back? Typically, they might spiral out. They might have like narcissistic injury. Like they might actually have narcissistic collapse, like a little bit, stuff like that. But a lot of times they're very resourceful. A lot of times they'll still find a new supply. Maybe it's just adding a new addiction to their repertoire, or maybe that's something else. Okay. Definitely need to do a one-on-one with you soon. Yeah, would love to be able to talk to you. If you guys want to do a one-on-one sometime, or if you want to work with me one-on-one coaching, would love to interact with you. You can go to rawmotivations.com and you can click on one-on-ones there. Okay. Do they usually do another hoover after me not responding to the first one a day ago? So you keep asking about the hoovers. They're going to keep hoovering until you make sure that it's actually stopped. And again, when I say make sure it's actually stopped, I don't mean do something to the other person. I mean make sure that there's no reaction and there's no access. Okay, like they shouldn't have access to you. That's what no contact is. No contact, ghost, block. Make sure there is no way for them to get back into your life. If they have a chance to get back into your life, more than often they will. So you have to be really careful about that. How did you realize that you needed therapy? Thank you for answering my prior question. So going through the whole process, I got to the place where I realized that I had narcissistic traits, but I didn't want to admit it. You know, it wasn't something that I was actually going to come out and say like, oh yeah, I'm a narcissist. Like, no, I denied it to everybody out there. I denied it on so many different levels. And I got to the place where I started to see some of the traits pop up when I was with a girl who had BPD and narcissistic traits. And I started to see like, crap, there's some of the stuff that I do, but that person's doing it to me. Like it's the exact opposite. And I was like, what the world is going on? Got to a place because of the affairs and because of things that are going on that my wife and my boss, they sent me to a sex addiction intensive, thinking that maybe this is the problem. Like maybe we fix this and maybe there'll be the next step. Like maybe he'll get better kind of thing. And really I was at that point in my like awareness journey that I got to the place where I walked away from the sex addiction intensive and I was like, I'm not a sex addict. I'm a narcissist. And like, that's the main problem. And so from there, I eventually got into EMDR and then I went into regular talk therapy and started to work through that as well. Okay. Mine used therapy literally to learn how to manipulate me more. A lot of times narcissists will do this. You have to be very, very careful. A lot of times when you say, hey, you should get into therapy and they go to therapy, all of a sudden you're like, wait a second. Now they're telling me that they're not emotionally safe, that this is coming back and all these things start coming back at you. So you got to be really careful about that. Unfortunately, that's why we don't recommend couples therapy. So yeah, I do not recommend couples therapy at all. Okay. How many people have been to couples therapy with a narcissist? Okay. I guess I should clarify. How many people have been to couples therapy with a narcissist and it was productive? There's probably not going to be a lot of people that say that because typically what happens is that's the time for the narcissist to actually manipulate you. Okay. That's the narcissist where they normally come across as like, I'm the victim. Okay. Like I'm the victim. And so I'm going to blame it on you. A lot of times when people go into couples therapy, and this is why you have to be like super careful, like even doing this with a toxic person, with a narcissist. Okay. Because it typically gets all blamed on you, back on you. This is why I don't recommend, if you're with a narcissist, this is why I don't recommend going to therapy or counseling, especially counseling with a narcissist in the Christian circle, because the majority of times people don't see it. And a lot of times the Christian circles are like, well, you guys just need to work together or you just need to fix your communication issues. Like, no, like there's an abusive person in the relationship and they're unwilling to actually acknowledge what's actually happening in that. Okay.